Oh, excellent. All right. We are live.
Excellent. Okay. I see July monthly community SEO. I'm gonna change that to August.
Perfect. All right.
You do recordings?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Welcome, 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 everyone. It is, of course, Monday, August 11th at 1 o'clock Central. Welcome to our August community Q&A with a focus on, of course, AI and AI SEO. Sorry, we're a week late. I was in Austin last Monday for a very fun masterclass event, but I am back here today. So what we're going to do is just start going through some of the questions. I have the wonderful Destiny here, and she's going to feed me the questions that you guys have asked. Feel free, put something in the chat if you would like. Otherwise, there are a couple of comments in the school community that you can use and get your questions in there, and we'll just start hitting them and go through it. If we have time, then we'll take some live questions. That's the plan. But all right, cool. So thank you guys for being here. Let's go ahead and start. The first question we have is from Muhammad Abdullah. And the question is there any benefit to bringing the business map embed onto the above the fold of the landing page? I would say probably not. This isn't something that we do. We always embed the Google Business profile on the GBP landing page, but we usually embed it pretty low. And the reason for that, the space above the fold, that is the space that is visible by a user when they first click through to your website. That space is very, very important, right? Especially for a local business website. Honestly, a lot of users won't even scroll down at all. They're just going to look at the hero image, whatever's on top. They're going to look for a click to call, maybe a fill, and then they're going to move on with their life. So putting the GBP embed above the fold, probably not something that we would recommend. That being said, we haven't tested that. So I probably wouldn't do it. We almost always just put it down below. All right. Next question from Mike here. When you say article, is it different from a whole page content, or is it just a page content minus headings and title tags? So that's a good question, Mike. And this is something that I often struggle with because everyone has a different name for different things, right? Okay, so I could say an article, a web page, a website, a URL, and I might mean the same thing by all of those terms. But some people might not know what I mean. Like if I say URL, that might confuse some people versus if I say web page, do I mean the whole domain or do I mean that specific page? So when I say article, what I mean is the whole URL that has that content on there. So I'm including the images, I'm including things, the breakup walls of text, I'm including the headings, I'm including the title tags, I'm including everything when I say article. I'm also usually when I say article, I'm also including external backlinks to that page, right? And we have to do that, external backlinks to a page. The reason we do that is to convince Google, to show Google that we're not just publishing a bunch of AI slop, right? It's easy to publish AI slop. You can easily connect WordPress to the OpenAI API and publish 10,000 pages tomorrow. But that won't rank, that won't help you. So we are sourcing these links just to make sure the content is seen by Google as not AI slop. Okay? So that external link, I'm usually also talking about that when I say article. And I'm also including when I say article, I mean the other internal links, right? So if we post a new article or a new URL or a new page, whatever terminology you want to use, we're going to also need to add links from the website, other pages on the website, back to that page. All right, cool. Just so you guys know, Silvio and Jay, if we have time at the end, I'll hit your in-person questions. I see you got your hands up. You can keep them up if you have time at the end. I'll hit them. But most of this, I'm going to try to get through the written questions that were submitted in advance, and we have quite a few of them. But if we get through those, absolutely, we can do that. But no guarantees. If you want to put your question in the chat here, then Destiny will see that. She'll feed it to me on this other window. Just wanted to make sure you guys get your question answered. That's going to be the easiest way. But if you want to speak, then keep your hands up and we'll see at the end if we have time. All right. So Wes asks, do you recommend adding cities, services, and neighborhood pages for service area business with the large service areas? All right, so this is an interesting question, Wes. So my very first answer to this question would be, if you have a service area business, and for those of you who don't know, a service area business means that it's a Google business profile without a visible address, okay? When you're creating your Google business profile, you can create one without a visible address. If you do that, it's called a service area business. Now, service area businesses are much harder to rank than a business that has a visible address. I've seen case studies that estimate 30 to 50% higher. I've seen other case studies that say 100% harder or even more. But in almost every situation where we've worked with a client who had a service area business, when they added a visible address, they got a pop in ranking. It almost immediately, the ranking got better across the board. This is so significant and such a significant factor that for our SEO agency, I will no longer take clients that have a service area business. I will not take you as a local SEO client unless you have a visible address, because service area businesses are really, really hard to rank, right? Especially if we're talking about services that are competitive. And most are, right? Plumbers, HVAC, roofers, these are all fairly competitive. And if you want to rank, then you really need to have a visible address, okay? It can be your home. You can get a Google business profile verified at a residential address. No problem. It can be your home. If you don't want your home address visible, then you can rent an office space and get that address verified. But if it's a service area business, it's going to be very, very hard to rank, okay? So he had some other questions about cities, services, neighborhood pages. Sure, we would follow the same geographic process that we do for our visible address locations, but I just wanted to answer the question first, Wes, that service area business is going to be very, very hard to rank, much less rank as you get farther and farther away from your address. Change it to a visible address, then make sure you've built up enough topical relevance, right? So make sure you have enough content about the topic and make sure you have enough trust. We can do that by looking at your local rank map. We want to see your local rank map in the 25 to 35% range for being in the top 3. That's a sign that you have enough topical relevance, that you have enough trust. Then you can start producing geographic-based content like these different cities, services, neighborhood pages. The one additional warning I would give you is it is typically very difficult to rank your GBP if the searcher is in a city different from your GBP address, okay? So we have a lot of clients where I can pull up the local rank map and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, they're 1, 2, 3 here. And then right there, they're like 5, 6 and higher. And we can literally draw the border of the city municipality just by looking at rank maps. As soon as the city changes, it gets much, much harder to rank. So anyway, Wes, Hopefully that's not all bad news for you. You're going to be fine. Just change it to a visible address and you'll be good to go. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give you. But be warned, Wes, if you add an address to a service area business, it is very, very likely to trigger a re-verification. It's less likely if you add the same address that you originally verified it at, but Google won't give you that address. It knows what the address is, it stores it somewhere, but it won't tell you. You have to just put a new address in. Hopefully, it's the same one you verified on. If it's a different one, you're almost always going to trigger a re-verification. And if it's not a different address, if it is the exact same address, you're still potentially, strong potential, going to need to do a re-verification. All right. Next related question from Wyatt. If a business has a large service area with multiple counties, should they embed maps on their homepage for each of those counties and service areas? No. So Wyatt, we almost always will have one Google Business Profile landing page, right? So when you go into your Google Business Profile, there's a box in there that says website, and then there's a web address, a URL. Whatever you put in that web address, I like to call the Google Business Profile landing page. And the reason we call it that, very simply, of course, if somebody pulls up your Google Business Profile, clicks website, that page is where they end up. Now, for most businesses, that is the homepage, but not always, right? If you're multi-location or if you have an e-commerce or something like that and you don't want to use the homepage for your GBP, then it might not be your homepage. The GBP embed we will do on the GBP landing page, not on every single page that talks about it. We'll only do one GBP embed and we'll do it on the landing page. That's it, okay? So yeah, if a business has a large service area, now that being said, a large service area with multiple counties, that's going to be pretty hard to rank across a large service area with multiple counties unless the competition is very minimal in that area. Let's see, how can you check, from Gregory, how can you check the Chamber of Commerce links to make sure it is a do follow link? Excellent suggestion. And in fact, I am, between all of our clients, I am a member of, I don't know, dozens of chambers of commerce across the United States. And I will say, one chamber of commerce that is pretty close to where I am, it's the Chamber of Commerce in Mobile, Alabama. Mobile, pronounced Mobile, if you're not familiar with that. But anyway, the Chamber of Commerce in Mobile, Alabama will only provide no-follow links. The way that you check this is if you go to the Chamber's website and then you go to the directory from the Chamber's website, you can then view source code and just do a Control F and search for no follow and just see if the directory links that, or if the links from the directory to the members' websites, see if they are no follow. Okay, and if they're not, then you're golden, good to join. If they're no follow, then usually what we'll do is I will send a message to that Chamber of Commerce and ask if we can have a do follow link. Most of them don't even know what I'm talking about and they're happy to do it as long as I'll join the chamber. The Chamber of Commerce just really wants people to join. So if I'm like, yes, I will happily join today, if your web developer can change this so that I get a do follow link, they'll often say, yep, no problem, and then I'll join. So far, out of all of the chambers of commerce, the one in Mobile is the only one that has said no, so I've never joined it. But that's how we check. We just want to make sure that we're getting the best kind of link is a plain text, do follow link from the directory website. That's what we want to see. And when we see that, then I'll usually join it straight away. All right. I'm finding a lot of GBP services. Do you really do a page per service or do you combine similar services? That was a question from Tess. And Tess, my answer is yes, we really do a page per service. So if you have 30 services, we're going to create 30 pages. If you have 100 services, we're going to create 100 pages. The exception to that is, of course, while we're creating all of this content, while we're creating all of these pages, we're going to watch the local rank map. Okay? And if the local rank map turns green and starts to look really good, then I'm going to stop producing content because I'm done. We're ranked, right? Then it's a conversation with the client as to whether they want to try to rank farther out or whether they want to create another GBP or what the potential path forward is for a client who's ranked everywhere where we initially did the first scan. But yes, we will create a page for every service. We call it the Core 30, but that's mainly because Core 30 rolls off the tongue really well and sounds a lot less intimidating than Core 500. But if you have 500 services, then it might be the Core 500 for you. Probably won't need all 500 unless you're like personal injury lawyer or plastic surgery or something else that's crazy competitive. But 80 to 90% of the businesses in like regular cities, like Fort Wayne, Indiana is my favorite example because it's just this. Sorry if you're from Fort Wayne, but I always use it as this like generic Midwest example city, a couple 100,000 people. Maybe you've heard the name, but it's just this random city in Indiana, Fort Wayne. So if you're a plumber in Fort Wayne, you'll be able to get ranked with the Core 30. You won't need 200 pages of content, but in case we do, then the option is there. We can just keep producing it. All right, good question. Now let's see. Another question here. Muhammad asks, my competitors are stuffing keywords into citation URLs. Should we do these tricks sometimes, or is it best to follow basics? So that's an interesting question. I don't really do tricks. The way we do SEO doesn't really use tricks at all. And a well-timed question, Muhammad, I would say. I have been doing a lot of work in the citations area because there's a lot of evidence that ChatGPT just loves citations. Okay, so let me back this up and talk about citations just briefly, really quickly, for those of you who are here and interested in it. So when we see citation, what most people think of when I say citation is this, what like Joe's Business Directory Listings.com or some spammy site like that, where you go there, you pay your VA, and they enter these little boxes of information about your business, and they do this over and over again, 200 times, 300 times until their fingers are bleeding. And then of the 300 citations that they entered with blood all over everything, they get like 6 of them indexed by Google because they're all just complete spammy crap. Okay, so that type of citation, I'm going to call that, let's do SEO like it's 2019. Okay. Those don't really do much of anything anymore. So if you're doing that type of citation, I'm going to give you permission to stop. Just stop. You don't need that type of citation. It doesn't do anything, right? Google won't index them. ChatGPT doesn't care about them. They're not high quality, reputable sources. The only exception, the only time we will ever do those types of citations, like the spammy ones that VAs can just type in, the only time we will do that is if we don't have a GBP yet, okay? If there's no GBP, simply getting the business name on the internet can be helpful to getting the GBP verified. If there's a verified GBP, that type of citation is a complete waste. Okay, don't do it. Then you're going to panic that they're not getting indexed. Just don't worry about it. It's spammy and it will do nothing. Now, today, it's obviously not 2019, right? So we still do citations, but when I talk about citations now, what I mean are very high quality citations. These are citations that will almost always require verification, right? If you can have a VA go create your citation in 10 minutes, this is not a citation worth getting, right? So these citations that I'm talking about, Apple Maps, right? Bing for Business. Bing for Business is critical. Remember that ChatGPT uses Bing for Business, not Google Maps. So if you want ChatGPT to recommend your business, you need to have a Bing for Business listing. To get a Bing for Business listing, you need verification. To get Apple Maps, you need verification. There's also like Yelp, the Better Business Bureau, a bunch of the car navigation systems, right? The BMW, the Audi, the Mercedes, these navigation systems, they have business directories, and getting listed in them generally will require a verification. So these types of high quality citations, I think, are absolutely critical, and they can really help to move your local ranking but they're incredibly important for ChatGPT. ChatGPT loves these citations. It eats them up and provides recommendations based on these high quality citations. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question, Muhammad. If you can stuff keywords into the citation URLs, that citation is probably just a waste of time and you shouldn't worry about it. I actually have a YouTube video coming up. I'm in the middle of scripting it, and the title of it is Why Most Citations Are Completely Worthless. Do This Instead. So, well-timed question. I was just working on that scripting this morning for that one. Excellent. And by the way, hopefully Destiny can drop this link. If you want an easy way to give a citation, now this is going to sound like a plug, but there's this tool. It's called LeadSnap. I've talked about it quite a bit on my most recent YouTube videos. We do use this in-house. I mentioned at one point in the 10 years that I've had my SEO agency, we have changed tools exactly 3 times, right? Those 3 times were once for high level, once for ChatGPT, and then a third time to start using LeadSnap. The thing I like about LeadSnap so much, it does the local heat maps, the local ranking maps. A lot of other tools do that, but what I like about LeadSnap so much is it has API connections to Apple Maps, Bing for Business, these navigation systems, BBB, etc. So you can connect your GBP account to LeadSnap, double check all the information on the GBP that it's accurate. You toggle one switch, and it will, with these API connections, create all of these super citations that will not require verification. It will copy your GBP onto Bing for Business without having you to get the postcard and all the other crap that you would normally need to verify a Bing for Business. Highly recommended. Destiny just dropped the affiliate link in the comments. Yes, it's an affiliate link, but if you use that link, you'll get half off your first 3 months. Okay. And the other thing, the founder of LeadSnap would probably be annoyed if I told you, but the really cool thing about LeadSnap is once you get the citations, if you turn it off, LeadSnap will not delete your citations. So it's $20 a month, but take that for what you will. It is excellent, excellent at getting those citations. Okay. Next question from George. George, is it okay to add the same service on multiple categories? We usually don't do that, George. We do not duplicate category, or we do not duplicate services. We want 20 to 30 services and we want them to be unique. They should be in the category that they're most relevant to. Now, with the service, you can, of course, type anything you want in the box, right? There's no drop-down box or anything like that. So you can type anything you want. So you can type services that feel very related as long as they're still related to the overall category. Just don't make the services exactly the same thing. So one of my favorite examples of this, right? So we have a client who's a plastic surgeon, and his primary category on the GBP is plastic surgeon. But another GBP category is cosmetic surgeon, right? So he has cosmetic surgeon as a secondary category. Well, cosmetic surgeon and plastic surgeon are the same thing, pretty much. So how do we divide the services between cosmetic and plastic surgeon? Well, they don't need to be completely perfect accurate, right? Just do your best, get it divided out. You can always ask ChatGPT to help you. ChatGPT 5 does a pretty good job of this. Just give it your list of categories, give it your list of services, and ask it to divide the services into the category that they are most semantically relevant to, okay? Now, when I say semantically relevant, that's an important word. Google's algorithm uses semantics to determine rankings, so you want the closest semantic relevance. Also, make sure when you're asking ChatGPT or Cloud or whatever to do that, tell it what you're trying to do. Tell it that you're trying to rank this business higher on Google Maps, so that could it please do this with that goal in mind. It's always good to give the AIs your final goal. It might identify a path forward that is a little bit different than what you had thought to achieve that same goal. All right, next question from Al. Can you provide a list of the tools, both free and paid, that are required for your premium local SEO course? Sure. So it's not a long list. Let me pull up real quick, because I think in the first section of the premium course, I say the tools that you need. Recommended tools. There it is. Okay. Here are the recommended tools in that we use at my agency. Okay, number one is the Google search. Okay, that's a free tool. Everyone gets about 20 free searches a day. If you go over that 20, then you get 20 more. That was a bad joke. You have unlimited free Google search, obviously. Okay, number two is Google Search Console, which also is completely free. We don't use Search Console nearly as often as we used to when we focused on non-local because interactions with your GBP, with the map listing, do not show up in Search Console. But the Search Console, it's free and it can still be helpful for a lot of other things, the indexing reports, performance reports, things like that. Claude.ai. I haven't yet done a full comparison between Claude Sonnet and ChatGPT 5, but Claude Sonnet was better than ChatGPT 4.5 at writing content. So we have Claude Sonnet that we rely on for most of our content. That's $20 a month. Then, of course, we have ChatGPT. That's another $20 a month. Potentially, you could use just one of them instead of both, but we're at $40 a month here total. LeadSnap is the next tool. That is $60 a month for up to 10 GBPs. If you have more than 10 GBPs, you should be able to afford more than $60 a month. And in fact, you don't need LeadSnap until you have your first client anyway, because what you're going to do with LeadSnap is connect a GBP to it. So we're at $100 a month now. Then we have High Level. Honestly, the only thing that we use High Level for right now at the agency, we used to use it for more, but we've migrated a lot of it over to LeadSnap. So the main thing that we're using High Level for right now is when we run ads to grow the agency, right? So when we run agency ads, we use High Level to manage those ads, to manage the CRM, to manage communications, and the email sequences and all of that. So if you're running ads, I would recommend High Level. If you're not running ads, you probably don't need it. So High Level is $300 a month, but I'm going to call that optional and not include it. Page Optimizer Pro. Page Optimizer Pro is a tool. Kyle Roof came up with it. Fascinating story behind it, but I won't belabor that point. Basically, Page Optimizer Pro analyzes the content that's currently ranking on Google and gives you ideas for semantic keywords, LSI keywords to include in your own content. It used to be much more valuable pre-ChatGPT, but we still use it today. So I'm going to include that there. It's not very expensive. I think it's $30 or $40 a month. And then Screaming Frog, that's the last tool. Screaming Frog is like $100 or $200 a year, but it's completely free if you have fewer than 500 URLs. I can't remember if it's 500 or 100, but if you're needing Screaming Frog for a client that has more than 100, perfect, 500. If you're using Screaming Frog and you have a client that has more than 500 URLs, 100 or 200 bucks a year should also be no problem. So that's it. That's our total. That's our total list of tools that we use. And with Claude and ChatGPT, we're at like, yeah, I guess $130 a month, something in that range, which would be 400 to 500 if you're also needing to use High Level as a CRM. Great question. Al Sharier asked a follow-up question. Ahrefs. We don't use Ahrefs anymore. Ahrefs is not very useful for local SEO. The information it gives is not good, right? We know that all of these third-party tools that are looking at keywords, Ahrefs, Moz, any of them, Majestic, SEMrush, we know that the lower the volume, the search volume of the keyword, the less and less accurate it gets. So if you're solely focused on local SEO, they get so inaccurate as to be pointing in the wrong direction. So yeah, we don't use Ahrefs. I don't check domain ratings. I don't check domain authority because frankly, for local SEO, you don't need to. We're not just building mindless links to try to grow the domain rating as high as possible. That's not the best way, the most efficient way to do local SEO. Remember, with local SEO, what we're trying to do is build up trust with both Google's AI for the AI overview, and of course with ChatGPT, so that there's enough trustworthy information about your business online so that these tools will recommend you to their users. And all of these tools, even Google search itself, is getting better enough to the point that domain rating just isn't valuable for local SEO. And all the keyword research was wrong anyway, so we never used keyword research for local SEO. So anyway, yes, no Ahrefs, nothing like that. Um, Another follow-up question, what do you use to find broken links and slow pages as you build out? Screaming Frog. That's what Screaming Frog is for. Screaming Frog does an excellent job at finding things like that. You can actually hook for free, no additional charge. You can hook Screaming Frog into Page Speed Insights. And as Screaming Frog is crawling your domain, is crawling that domain, it can run page speed insights on every single URL it's crawling. Yeah, it's cool. And it'll also find the broken links. It'll find the slow pages. We don't need those chintzy automated audits that those like Ahrefs does. Don't need that. Screaming Frog will do great. Okay, next question from Virgil. Are meta descriptions important for local SEO? Well, this is an interesting question. I don't really know. Let me think about how to answer this. The My knee-jerk reaction to this question is to say no. Meta descriptions are not very important for local SEO. Let's walk through this together and see if I change my mind by the time I get to the end of this little spiel I'm going to give. So for those of you who don't know, just to make sure we're all on the same page, the meta description is sometimes what Google will show right below the title tag on the search engine results page. I say sometimes because often you'll give Google a meta description and it will decide that it can come up with a better meta description and it will write its own meta description no matter what you put in that box. So sometimes. So when we talk about local SEO, we are not trying to rank anything organically, right? I get a lot of questions about what about keyword cannibalization or what about duplicate content? What about all of these different things? And you shouldn't care or worry about any of those things with local SEO. Because when we talk about local SEO, everything we're doing, every page we create, every URL or article that we create on that website, we're trying to rank the Google Business Profile higher. That's the only goal. I don't care about organic rankings. I don't track organic rankings when we're doing a local SEO engagement. I only care about ranking the Google Business Profile. That's because 5 to 10% of the traffic will go to the ad, 60 to 70% of the traffic will go to one of the map results. So even if you're number one organically, you're playing for 20% of the search traffic, right? So why do I care about being number one organically if I'm only playing for 20% of the total traffic? I'd rather be in the maps. So everything we're doing is to try to rank in the maps, to get the GBP in the maps listing. The maps algorithm has 3 core factors, right? Trust, relevance, and proximity. So any halfway decent website that's just not terrible, if you're standing in the lobby of the business and search for plumber near me, they should show up in the top 3, right? Like that number 1 spot right on their address should be in the top 3 unless something is seriously wrong or the website is terrible. So what we're really trying to do when we talk about local SEO is grow the trust and relevance to overcome the proximity detriment as we get farther and farther away from the GBP. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to grow that trust and relevance to overcome the proximity issue as we get farther away. That's local SEO. So are meta descriptions important? The reason I said no is because I don't care about organic. And it's not like Google will leave a blank. It'll write its own meta description for you. Okay. Okay. But so I just said no, they're not important, but man, we still fill them out because could you imagine creating a new website and not filling out meta description, especially with AI writing it for you? Just have AI write the meta description for you, put it in the box and move on with your life. Now, if you're taking on a local SEO client with like 500 URLs and there's 0 meta descriptions, I probably would not use the amount of resources necessary to write 500 meta descriptions. Even with AI, that's going to take hours of time. So I probably wouldn't do that. But if I'm creating a new page, it takes an extra 30 seconds to do a meta description. So we'll just do it. Okay. Hopefully that wasn't too controversial for you guys. Let me know in the comments if anyone like completely disagrees with my take on meta descriptions for local SEO. Not what I expected. I did not expect to get on this live stream and then shout out to everyone that meta descriptions are a waste of time for local SEO. But hey, That's where we are on this Monday afternoon. Cool. All right. Next question is from Jay. All right. How hard is it to rank for an additional location if you've been in business for a very long time? All right. So this is, I'm assuming you have one location, you've ranked it well, and you want to, cool, you have multiple locations, you're ranked well. For whatever reason, you're adding another location. Maybe they actually expanded. Maybe you want to rank in other cities, but for whatever reason, we're going to add more GBPs and try to rank it. So the good news when we have a website with multi-locations, this is my favorite kind of client, right? If someone comes to me and says, "Hey, I want local SEO," man, I love it if they're a multi-location business. Because the great news about a multi-location business is you already have a ton of topical relevance, right? We normally would not add more locations unless the locations they have are already ranking well. I'm not going to create a new website with 10 locations right off the bat. I'm going to start with one. I'm going to rank it, add one. I'm going to rank it, add one. I'm going to rank it. Maybe at some point I'll add multiple ones, but I'm not going to go from like 0 to 10. So I have multiple locations that are already ranking in same target keywords, maybe just a different city, but same topical keywords. I mean, that's great news because it's going to be much easier to rank the next one. Now, how much easier? That's going to be based on so many factors, right? Competitiveness, what are the other websites doing? How many GBPs are in the area? What are the cities in that area doing? So usually, especially for multi-location. Well, I mean, honestly, for any new client, the first thing we're going to almost always do is run a local rank map, right? The local rank map will guide everything. Everything we do in a month for a client for local SEO is based on what that local rank map says. And Destiny can confirm this if you don't believe me, but local rank map is such a critical factor. That's the beginning of everything. So get a new location, get it verified, run a local rank map, like straight away, and see what it looks like. And that'll give you an idea how much topical relevance did you get just from sharing that domain, and what are the first few steps that you need to do. Often, especially if you start to talk about third, fourth, fifth location, we can skip a lot of the topical relevance building straight away, just because the domain is already has so much relevance and so much trust. We can just immediately start producing geographic-based content to improve some of the outlying dots. A little bit of a water break there. All right. From George, for SEO and user experience, is it better to have one general FAQ page on my website, or should I create a specific FAQ section under each individual service page? This is an interesting question. So what I would do, so the way that we handle this, George, when okay, I'm trying to put my thoughts together to answer this question. So there are 3 phases to a local SEO engagement, okay? Let me pull it up real quick because I don't want to get the phases incorrect. So the first phase of a local SEO engagement, what we're going to do is create the core 30. Okay, so we've talked about this before. That's creating your GBP category pages, secondary category pages, and service pages. We call that the core 30. Phase 1, create the core 30. Phase 2, create additional topical relevance. Now, you might be able to skip phase 2 if the rank map looks good after you've done the core 30. Okay, so again, make sure you watch your rank map. So phase 2 is additional topical relevance. So you've done the core 30, but you don't yet have enough topical relevance. And then phase 3 is to create geographical relevance. You have the topical relevance, now we need to create geographical relevance. The reason I mentioned that is the way that we handle FAQs is we will almost always put a generalized FAQ on the GBP landing page. Okay, and that FAQ, we're going to try to answer questions that real people are asking about that type of business in that area. And the reason we're doing that is for ChatGPT recommendations, right? If ChatGPT said, like if it's February in Minneapolis and somebody asks ChatGPT, hey, my hose bib broke, who would you recommend to fix it? Well, if we have an FAQ on the plumber's GBP landing page that talks about how good they are at fixing hose bibs in the Minneapolis winters, that significantly increases the chances that ChatGPT is going to recommend that business for that user. So we want to pull the questions that people are actually asking about that service and about the region that the service is located in, and answer those questions in regular normal language, because regular normal language is how people chat with ChatGPT. And let me see if it's actually live, because we started using a new prompt for this, uh, the customer language analyzer prompt. It's in the school community. I had it on draft because the YouTube video hasn't gone live yet. But for those of you who are here, I'll go ahead and flip it to published. And then there's the link to it. I just dropped the link in the Zoom chat here. So that prompt, it's going to get ChatGPT or Claude basically to crawl Reddit, Trustpilot, other business sites, and figure out what types of questions are people asking about this type of business and this type of location, okay? And those we'll answer with a small FAQ section at the bottom of the GBP landing page, just to get more recommendations from ChatGPT. After that primary FAQ is done, the only time we'll put additional FAQ sections on the website is if we need additional topical relevance, okay? So that's phase two, right? Phase one is the core 30. Phase two is additional topical relevance. So if we need additional topical relevance, because we're not ranking well, we did the core 30. Now we need to add additional supporting content for that service, okay? And the best way to get ideas for supporting content, and a lot of you know this, is the people also ask section on Google, right? So instead of plumber Minneapolis, we'll just write plumber and see if we get a people also ask section. Another good way, we can put local plumber, or you can put a question word after the word plumber, right? Who, what, when, where, what, why, how. If we put one of those question words after plumber, we're almost certainly going to get a people also ask section. Then we can create an FAQ on one of the service or category pages to answer some of the people also ask questions. And then we'll write additional long form content to answer the people also ask question more deeply, and then provide the link back and forth from the FAQ to the deeper, intense answer and back up to the FAQ. Otherwise, we're not typically just adding FAQs to every article we write. Okay, that was a much longer answer than I was expecting. Hopefully that was helpful. Sander asks, what software do you recommend for rank maps? LeadSnap. I like LeadSnap. I like LeadSnap a lot. I already talked about its citation use. We also use it to generate rank maps. We used to use Local Dominator, but I don't use Local Dominator anymore. And the reason that we don't use Local Dominator for these rank maps anymore is because when you run a rank map with LeadSnap, when you get the results for whatever business you ran, it'll give you the results for that business. Excellent. Viking does that. White Spark does that. Local Dominator does that. But on top of that, LeadSnap will also give you the 20 or so other businesses that it found while it was running your rank map. It will let you view any one of those businesses' rank maps. Very, very cool. But even better, let me pull it up real quick, because even better than that, it actually gives you information on how you're ranking in the, like, your average rank position, what percent of that rank map is in the top 3, and it also gives what percent of your market you're dominating. Let me pull one up. Because when we saw this, I mean, this is very exciting. It makes it much easier to check how competitive different spaces are with one heat map run. So let me see. I ran one for Doc Dancer. Yes. This is not a client of mine. I am not silly enough to share a client of mine on YouTube. So anyone who wants to go mess with this particular business, please don't. But they're not a client of mine. This is just some random plumber, I think, in Fort Wayne, Indiana. As I said, I use Fort Wayne, Indiana all the time. All right, so this is what it looks like when you run the rank map in LeadSnap. So this is the Doc Dancer. Not bad. They're ranking pretty well close by, and then, you know, we drop out of the top 3. But what's really cool is any one of these other businesses, if I click on it, I can look at their rank map very easily, any of their competitors. I can also look at what average rank is, and I can see what the top 3% is. So this means that this home comfort experts, they're in the top three with 62% of this area. So the reason that's critical, of course, right, is if you're in the fourth position, you're invisible. Top three is what's important. And I can actually sort by top 3% and see how many how many businesses are ahead of Doc Dancer in terms of that top 3%. On top of that, we also have market share. And this one is also really cool. What market share means. Remember, we said that it's very hard to rank a GBP if the searcher's in a different city, right? So if I just for fun, if I ran this rank map, but I had to cover the entire United States, we all know that it would be impossible to rank across the entire United States with a single GBP. So what this market share attempts to do is estimate how large of a region is theoretically possible for this GBP, and then report back of that region that's theoretically possible to rank, how much of that region are they ranking in? Okay, so this is a little theoretical calculation, but it's pretty cool. I like that. I like the top 3%. I like the average rank. I like being able to see all the competitors with one run. Very cool. We use Lead Snap. Those are the reasons why we use Lead Snap. Okay. Adil asks, I heard virtual offices rank lower or do not rank at all. Is that accurate? I've never heard anything like that for virtual offices. We've had a lot of luck with virtual offices, haven't had any issues ranking them. The only thing I might say why you might have heard that, Adil, is if you are talking about virtual offices and it's a service area business, right? Meaning a hidden address. So hidden address, I already talked about hidden address being very difficult to rank, very difficult to rank a service area business. So that might be what you're seeing if you created a GBP in a virtual office and then kept the address hidden. But if the address is not hidden and you're able to get the GBP verified, so that's going to be the real trick, right? It's going to be hard to get a GBP verified at a virtual office, but if you can get a GBP verified and you can have a visible address, I have not seen any difference between ranking a virtual office versus an actual office building. But again, getting that GBP verified is going to be the challenge. All right, Silvio asks, does Medium post as a way to generate links to a website? Do I need a link from the website to Medium as well? So you don't need a link from the website to Medium, but yes, a Medium post is a way that can generate backlinks. But I mean, I wouldn't go crazy with this because remember, even if there's a world where Google cares a lot about your overall backlink authority to local SEO, and I think it cares, but I don't think it cares a lot. And I'll talk more about that in a second. We also know that Google really only cares about the number of referring domains to your domain. So I wouldn't go and get a Medium link to every single page. I might get one Medium link to the homepage and call it good. Okay. So I say that more broadly speaking, when we're talking about building backlinks for local SEO, there are really two types of links that we focus on. The only two types of links that we build for local SEO. Okay. The first one, I think I might have already mentioned this. It's the, hey, Google, this is an AI slop link. Okay. This is a low to medium quality link. Typically, we're going to use something like a PBN because it's just a signal to Google that the page isn't AI generated slop, right? You can't generate thousands of pages of AI generated slop and also provide a medium quality link to each one with any sort of reasonable budget. So just that medium decent link, it's a signal that it's not AI generated slop. It helps it gets indexed, helps Google's algorithm trust it a little bit more. Obviously, that does absolutely nothing for ChatGPT, and it does absolutely nothing for Google's AI systems, okay? That is purely to get it indexed in Google's algorithm, Google's base algorithm, non-AI, okay? The second type of link is what we refer to as a trust-building link. So this is a link that's actually designed to get Google to trust this business more. And it will also get ChatGPT to trust the business more, and it will get Google's AI to trust this business more. So that type of link is a hyper-local link, often a chamber of commerce, a local event sponsorship, a youth sports league, something like that. A lot of my clients have so much support for little girls softball teams. Their business name gets written on the little girls' jerseys. They get a plaque usually with all the girls standing there for a photo, and they put it up in the waiting room. And that's all fabulous and great and makes them feel happy. But obviously, from my perspective, SEO blinders on, all I care about is that youth sports league, unique to that city, hyper local to that location, is going to send a link to my client thanking them for their sponsorship. And that's worth a few $100. A handful of links like that is usually enough to rank locally. So let me give you a prompt that can have ChatGPT or Claude actually crawl the local region and find those types of links for your local business. So you tell it, you're a plumber in Fort Wayne, and what it's going to spit back is a list of all of the organizations in Fort Wayne, all of the sponsorships, all of the events. We had a personal injury attorney in New Orleans, and we sponsored the Bayou Bash. I'd never even heard of this event, but whatever. We sponsored the Bayou Bash. It was a few $100. Personal injury attorney gets a thank you link. Suddenly, they're ranking a lot better in New Orleans. So anyway, that was a very long answer and not related to the Medium post question very much at all, but hopefully that was good for you, Silvio, talking a little bit more broadly about our backlinking strategy. All right, now Ronnie asked, if we change the name of a GBP from a restaurant, can we add at the end of the name this restaurant and city, or will it ask us for re-verification? Okay, so interesting question. Okay, so first of all, if you're ranking really well, don't change a whole bunch of things on your GBP, okay? We don't want to change a whole bunch of things if we're ranking well, because if we're ranking well, we're ranking well. And we don't want to change a bunch of things because there's only downsides, only bad things that can happen. But anytime we change things on the GBP, there's a chance that it will trigger re-verification or even a suspension. If you add services, it might trigger a re-verification. If you add special holiday hours, it might trigger a re-verification. Changing the name is more likely than a lot of the other changes. In my experience, the only thing more likely to trigger a re-verification other than the name is changing the address, right? If you change the address, 70% chance it's going to ask for re-verification. If you change the name, maybe 50-50, right? We'll just call it even odds that will ask for re-verification. Now, even if it doesn't ask for re-verification and your GBP now has keywords in it, right? Like you said, restaurant and city. So great. So your new GBP name is right, Fajita Restaurant, Houston, Texas, or something like that. Okay. So then what can happen is once you actually start ranking well, you remember that SEO is a zero-sum game. There are only 3 businesses featured in the top 3. That's why it's the top 3, of course. So when you get into the top 3, you're pushing someone else out. They're likely to notice that, right? Because getting pushed out of the top 3 is going to mean fewer calls, fewer visitors, et cetera, et cetera. So as you get ranked higher and higher, you're going to attract more attention from your competitors. And what some competitors will do, not all, of course, but what some competitors will do is they can helpfully suggest things to Google about your GBP. They used to be able to move the pin. Thankfully, they can't do that anymore. But they can still suggest to Google that your business is permanently closed. And if you don't respond to that, Google can accept it and then mark your business as permanently closed. I keep talking about LeadSnap. LeadSnap does actually allow locking your GBP, so changes like that can't happen anymore. But you don't need to do that. All you need to do is just keep an eye on the GBP. A lot of different suggestions are going to come up. So if that happens, right, if somebody suggests that your business is permanently closed and you don't respond to it, then it could close your GBP. But you can respond to it and say, no, it's still open. But the bigger issue is that if your business name has a bunch of keywords in it, somebody can report that as being a spammy business name, and then Google could suspend your GBP and require you to come up with documentation that proves that is your actual and accurate business name. Now, if it isn't, you can always file some paperwork with your state DBA paperwork, doing business as, and just file that paperwork so that your keywords are actually in the business name. And that way, when you do get suspended, you at least have the paperwork to get out of the suspension, or just, make sure your GBP name matches your business name on your business paperwork, character for character. If your GBP name doesn't have ink, but your business formation paperwork has ink, Google will not accept that. It needs to be the exact same name to be accepted. So make sure you have documentation to support whatever name is on your Google business profile. Okay. Hopefully that was helpful, Ronnie. Now, let's see. Clicking around, clicking around. All right, next question. Sander asks, when a business moves a few miles away in the same city, how do we recover the top 3 rankings? So, when a business moves a few miles away, how do we recover the top 3 rankings? So we would do basically the same thing we would do with the new SEO engagement, right? We'd look at the rank map. How does it look? Does it need more topical relevance? Does it need geographical relevance? What's going on? What can we do to actually improve it? It sounds like the business has already moved, but when we have a client who is moving to a new location, what we'll often do to avoid this exact issue, right? Because if you're ranking really well and then you change something significant on your GBP, you will often lose rank position. And I don't want to do that. So if a client of mine is moving a few miles away, we'll often have them create a new GBP at the new location rather than move their existing one. That gives us a little bit more ability to rank farther away from the new location. But more importantly, it doesn't mess with their first location. The challenge, of course, could be that at some point you might have to support that first location is an actual location. If someone else reports it as spammy or fraudulent or not really there, it might get suspended. Then you need to come up with paperwork to support that location. So hopefully you have that paperwork that you can provide. If not, at that point, then focus on the new GBP. But that's typically how we would prefer to do things, is to create a second GBP and rank the second one up. That way you have both of them. You have some nice redundancy there. But beyond that, if you've already done the move, then I would just say, if you've already done the move, then recover the top 3 rankings the same way that you would do a new engagement with a new client. Watch the rank map, decide topical relevance, decide geographic relevance, and move from there. All right. Malik asks, does ChatGPT content rank? Because I tried to just copy paste content on the site, got boom, but after some days all ranking drop and never come back. 100% ChatGPT content ranks. Google doesn't care who wrote the content. Google doesn't care if the content was written by AI or if the content was written by a human, right? What Google cares about is that the content is actually high quality. So we have stuff ranked all the time. Most of our clients now, actually, I mean, I say most, I might even change that to say all of our clients are pretty much ranked exclusively with AI written, human edited content. Okay. We do run a tool, Zero GPT. You can use the free version. We just run that after we have content before we post it. We're looking for something below 60%. We don't try to get to 0. I know those AI detectors are complete garbage. They don't really work. But what they do typically work well at is identifying low quality content. So something that scores like a 90 or 100% on Zero GPT, it's usually just not great content. So we don't want to post that. We want to post content that has something new or interesting to say about. Also, Claude content will typically do better than ChatGPT content right out of the bat, which makes sense, right? All of the plagiarism tools are designed to detect ChatGPT written content because ChatGPT has, I don't know, 120 million daily active users, probably 10 times, if not more, than what Claude has or any of its other competition. Now I'm curious, how many daily active users does Claude have? 20 million. Okay, so Claude has 20 million, ChatGPT has 130 million. So if you were designing a plagiarism checking app, you would design that app, or not plagiarism, an AI checking app. You would design that app to try to figure out if ChatGPT wrote it, because most of the people are out there using ChatGPT. So it's simply by using Claude, it's a different model, of course. So it's going to write content in a different way, and will often pass a lot of those AI detector tests just by not being ChatGPT content. But yes, the short version of your answer, Malik, is man, ChatGPT 3.5 came out in November of 2022. I think the last time we wrote anything by hand was probably 6 months after that, maybe mid 2023. So it's been a couple of years now since we've written anything by hand without AI. All right. Shafi asks, do you do your SEO on high level? Yes, we absolutely do. We have a lot of so there's a Facebook ads campaign. There's a version of it that I have on YouTube. I mean, it's the same one. I just don't go into as much detail, obviously, on YouTube. And then in the AI SEO Mastery Classroom, there's a second one, which let me grab the link. This is free to unlock. If you join, it's not going to be unlocked by default. You will have to run a quick AI-driven audit to get this unlocked. If you don't have this unlocked, just run that audit. You can find that audit in Modern SEO, Module 2, Lesson 2. Okay? Then I will unlock this module for you. No extra money, completely free once you're already a member. That lesson will break down everything we did for this Facebook ads campaign, our targeting, the follow-up emails we had, the contract, the sales script, everything we had. With that campaign, we landed like 97 plumbers in 6 months. So it was a really good campaign. It worked really well for us. Highly recommend you check that out. And one of the ways we were able to scale this, I think Destiny and I, we probably both have some PTSD landing that many clients that quickly. And every single one of them was basically a new website build. And what we basically did, we created a website template in high level, and the GHL snapshots will copy the websites over. So we created a website template, landed a new client, no problem. We re-import that same snapshot. We have everything there. And then we just copy paste new AI generated content over the existing content using that same AI template. And we get them to rank very well. A lot of the examples I use on YouTube are plumber websites that we landed from that campaign whose websites are on GHL's website builder. I've heard a lot of people say that you can't rank GHL websites. They are completely wrong. We ranked many, many GHL websites just because it's just faster and easier to copy it over than to build everything in WordPress. But if you like WordPress, that's fine too, right? You don't have to use GHL. Do what works for you. All right. Another question from Silvio. Can I create an ad in Craigslist and use my website link as a way of creating a backlink? I mean, I guess you could, but I don't know how effective that would be. We haven't done anything like that. I mean, again, right, those local sponsorships, that's good to build trust, and fairly inexpensive PBN links, that's good enough to show Google it's not slop. Those two types of links work. They're easy. They don't require a lot of effort or timing. So I don't really test a lot of other links, right? Generally, the way that we work at our agency is we'll find something that works, and then we'll just keep doing that until it doesn't work anymore. Yeah. So yeah, those two types of links we have work. So we haven't tried a bunch of other types of links. If you want to try to create an ad in Craigslist and use a website link, then cool, go for it. I don't know if it'll work or not. I haven't done it. Maybe it will, but yeah, let us know. All right. Virgil and Malik both ask, what do you use to get customers for local SEO? Do you suggest running ads? All right. So this is a good question, and it is August 11th. So my plan, before the end of August, I'm going to start a new series on YouTube. It'll be on my same channel, the same Caleb Olku channel. But what I'm going to do in this series, and I'll start it in the next couple of weeks, is I'm going to build an SEO agency from scratch, not leveraging any leads from my YouTube channel. Obviously, I get people who need my help have asked for my help with local SEO from the YouTube channel, not using any of those leads. So new agency from scratch, new name of the agency, not leveraging anything that I've done before, any reputation aspects before. And I'm going to build it to 10K a month in 3 months without a sales call. That's my plan anyway. We'll see if I'm actually successful or not. And my plan to do that for both Virgil and Malik is going to be running ads, right? 10K in 3 months without running ads would just, boy, that would be difficult. Doable, but difficult. If I wanted to hit 10K or if I wanted to just get clients without running ads, then, well, you could start a YouTube channel. We get quite a few clients from the YouTube channel now. But my only warning is that for the first year, the only one who ever watched my YouTube videos were my video editor and my mother. Neither of whom want SEO services. So it does take a lot of time for a YouTube channel to actually gain traction. One thing I like to think about for YouTube, we've talked about domain rating, domain authority, things like that. The equivalent metric for your YouTube channel is total watch time. So the longer your watch time, the more likely YouTube is going to be to recommend your videos to other people. So it just takes time to build up that watch time, unless you get super lucky and get a viral video out of the bat, which I've never done. That didn't happen to me. But if it happens to you, that's awesome, and I'd be thrilled for you. So long-term play, but it can work. Beyond that, I'm going to say pick one niche and learn a lot about it, right? I said we got 97 plumber clients. I didn't get 97 random local service businesses. And the reason for that is, especially as you start talking to more and more of that service professional. Like, I remember the first sales call with the first plumber who booked a call with my sales guy, not me. My sales guy is this. He was a guy in his like mid-20s, right? Lived in an apartment. He didn't know what a water heater was. He didn't know tanked water heaters, sizes of water heaters. He didn't know what an on-demand water heater was. He didn't know any of that. Why would he? He's in his mid-20s. He lives in an apartment. But I tell you, he talked to 600 plumbers in the next few months. And after the first few dozen, he was better able to walk a plumber through their business, how much they should price, how long it should take them to execute the job, all of these different aspects, what they should charge for an estimate, if they should charge for an estimate at all. He knew the average plumber's business better than the average plumber after spending that long talking to that many plumbers. That's the value in choosing a specific niche, is you get so familiar with that niche. And that also allows you to do things like go to Facebook groups and answer questions. Somebody asks, hey, what kind of water heater works for me? Yeah, you're not a plumber, but you might know how to answer that question because you're so familiar with that space. Or, plumber Facebook groups where they might ask marketing questions, how to get in front of more people. You can help them by answering those questions, but actually talk in such a way that you know the plumbing business also. Facebook groups, Reddit, those work really well for that. If you join those groups and start like messaging people or being spammy, you're going to get kicked out immediately. You need to join and just be helpful and add value. And over time, start to get recognized and people come to you. The shortcut to all of that is run ads. So basically, that's your choice. Another really good source for clients for me when I was first getting started also was Upwork. I built my SEO agency to 7 figures off of Upwork leads. So that's another good way. I still know a lot of people on Upwork who are having a lot of success on that platform. It can be also frustrating. Cold email can work, but it can also be frustrating. But yeah, so I would say ads to shortcut, or build up your reputation in a single space, or you can go a route like Upwork. For me, I'm going to use ads for my challenge because that's the fastest. Okay. Ronnie asks, how do you rank for a business that has no services options in the GBP? So every GBP should have services options. If yours doesn't, then I might look around more because you should have services. I don't think I've ever seen a GBP where you couldn't enter services. Okay. How do you do a quick audit on a prospect website and give GBP giving some value up front? This is an excellent question, Brian. So I'm still debating what exactly I'm going to run for this challenge. Okay. What exactly my ad campaign is going to be. There's a few different ideas that I have. One of the ideas that I have, okay. So if we're talking about wanting to do local SEO, most of our target audience. Most of the people who would hire us to do local SEO, most of them have paid for marketing in the past and they've been burned. Okay. It's going to be hard to get someone who's never paid for marketing to suddenly jump on board $1,000, $2,000 a month local SEO. So I'm really looking for somebody who's hired somebody to do marketing or even SEO before, and it hasn't gone well. That's who I would be trying to reach, right? So one idea of mine was to run an ad campaign on, Facebook, YouTube, something like that, and basically have the ad campaign say something like, most SEO agencies are terrible. We're not. Uh, Let me do a 7-day trial. And if we can't show you good results, then no harm. Something like that. I haven't figured it out fully. Keep in touch for it later. But if somebody said yes to that, how can I do a 7-day SEO trial, right? That sounds insane. Well, there are only a handful of things that can actually make a big difference if you're looking at a website or GBP. And so many local businesses get this wrong. So we have looked at my agency, Destiny and I, we have looked at hundreds of GBPs, okay? And by far, the most common homepage title tag for a local business is the word home, okay? That's obviously wrong, okay? That's just wrong. The homepage title tag needs to include the primary category and the city name, and they just have the word home, okay? So then what you would do, run a local rank map without changing anything, then tell them or try to get permission from them, change the homepage title tag, give them the new title tag, wait a couple of days, rerun the rank map, and it's going to be better. Okay? They're not going to get from like 20 plus into the top 3, but they might get from an average of 17 or 18 to an average of 14 just from changing the title tag. So there's a handful of things like that, right? The title tag, the H1 tag, primary category, secondary categories, service pages, the maps embed, the local business schema. These just very quick things that are very fast, very easy to fix, and can meaningfully improve the rank map just in a couple of days. So that's what we will often do with that quick audit for a prospect. Another aspect that we'll do is I'll run a local rank map. And I like Lead Snap for this. So let me show you. Let me pull up Doc Dancer real quick. I'll show you. So if this business, I'm pulling it up now. I'm not sharing yet, so you're not missing anything. But we'll pretend this business reached out and said, hey, can you do local SEO for me? 212. We have a little bit of time. So I'll grab this. Okay, here it is. Okay, share. Boom. All right. So this company reaches out and says, hey, we want local SEO. We want to rank higher. What can you do for me? Okay, so what I can do, I'm going to open up the websites for the top competitors, which again, oh, this guy doesn't even have a website. Neither does this guy. Fairly quick to do on Lead Snap here, right? Perfect. Okay. Page not found. No problem. They had UTM tracking on, but it didn't work. Okay. So then what I'm going to just check is how big are these websites? How many indexed pages do they have? That just gives me a rough idea of how competitive this particular space is. So Doc Dancer has 380, Home Comfort has 412, and Brockmaster has 250. Okay. So 380 is quite a few. Obviously, these other two are also quite a lot. So this is way more than should be necessary to rank well in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So what that tells me is they probably have been writing blog posts for quite a while. That weekly blog post, which everyone thought they needed to do, and a bunch of businesses still do, and it's a waste of money and a waste of time. And dear God, please stop writing weekly blog posts. But with this many index pages, they've probably been doing that for a while. So I know that what I'm going to propose to them is I am going to propose to them a technical audit. Because if they have 380 indexed pages and their rank map looks that bad, a lot of that content needs to go. There's something else wrong with the website. So yeah, I'm going to propose a technical audit. I'm going to do a GVP audit. I'm going to give them some new content for their homepage. That's a standard package that we offer when we see a client like that. And for that, we charge $1,900. So that's something that will give people quite a bit. Like, hey, you have way more indexed URLs than I would expect given how your rank position looks. We will do A, B, C, D, E. This is the price for it. Let us know if you want to move forward. If I had done those site colon searches and saw something more typical, like Doc Dancer had maybe 30 URLs, and the other couple of businesses that were actually in the top three had 50, 60, 70, then that would tell me that, hey, I need to produce 20 or 30 more URLs, and that's going to get me looking pretty good on this top three. So looking at something like that, we would skip the technical audit package and just go straight into the GVP audit and then monthly content. Okay, I know that was a quick answer. Hopefully that was helpful. That's how we do the quick audit. All right, Mike asks, what terms do you use on the rank map? So for every local rank map, we'll always do at least the primary category city name, right? Plug Houston, air conditioning repair, Fort Wayne, air conditioning repair, Fort Wayne, right? We'll always at least do GBP primary category and city name. Beyond that, it's going to be based on what are the high ticket services that this client really cares about. I don't need to track 50 terms, right? I think the most we're tracking on any of our local clients is probably 5. So for a plumber, I'm going to track plumber city name. I'm going to track water heater replacement city name, and I'm going to track main drain line replacement city name. That's because water heater replacement and main drain line replacement are the bread and butter. Every plumber wants more of those jobs. It's a ton of money and not that much work for those. So that's what we track for a plumber. I'm not going to track leaky faucet or clogged toilet because, yeah, frankly, most plumbers don't want to rank for that. And I don't need to, right? If I'm ranking in the top 3 for plumber, I'm probably ranking in the top 3 for all of these related categories and services, right? Long tail keywords aren't really a thing for local because of the GBP, right? Everything is based on the GBP. So Google will figure out what category you're searching for and then match you up with the GBP who's doing best in that category. This is very, very different for AI searches, right? ChatGPT is 100% long tail keywords. If you ask it for help replacing a lead main drain line in Chicago, ChatGPT will read reviews, will read your website, try to see if you've done that type of work before, that exact work, replacing lead main drain lines in those cities, and it will do those before it recommends you. Okay. So ChatGPT cares a lot about long tail keywords for local. Google doesn't, so we really only track a handful of terms. We don't go crazy with it. All right, for local citations, what is your take on GHL tools, Yext, and Uberall? Are they any good? They're a waste of money. They're very, very expensive. I talked about LeadSnap. It's $20 a month for API connections to very, very high quality citations. That's the tool we use. Yext is way more than that, and it won't give you a Bing for Business listing. Perfect. Let's see. Shalfie asks, Caleb, what's up, pal? Cool. Does the 197 a month program actually really work? Well, it depends on what you mean by actually really work. So the training that we have in the 197 a month program, it is over-the-shoulder training of how we do SEO at my agency. It's everything we do. Nothing is left out. Step-by-step instructions, how to do everything that we do. There's also an entire module about what to do to get recommended by ChatGPT. So yes, if you follow everything in there, the way that it's laid out and the way that it's shown to do, you will see higher rank. We've seen that over and over again. People who are constantly posting in the group about how much better the rank maps look after they built out the core 30, after they sourced some Chamber of Commerce links, people highlighting that ChatGPT recommended them after they implemented some schema stuff. But I mean, of course, it won't work if you don't do anything with it, right? So if you join and then treat it like a Netflix special, it probably won't do anything if you just watch it and then don't implement, then yeah. So a lot of the answer to that question is based on you, right? I know the material in there will get you ranked higher for Google's algorithm and will get you recommended more on ChatGPT. It's just whether you take that material and actually implement it. Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully that was helpful. Let's see. Silvio, do you suggest the pings from Fiverr to boost GMB? Man, I have no idea. Pings from Fiverr, I'm tempted to say flat out no. I can't imagine ordering pings from Fiverr. I've said before, right? We don't, and somebody commented, I thought it was pretty cute. Tricks are for kids. We don't really do tricks, right? Because remember when we talk about trying to do tricks to rank on Google, maybe the tricks work, but they usually don't work for long, right? Google will update their algorithm, and then the businesses, the websites that use tricks will suddenly lose rank position. And tricks like that certainly don't work for ChatGPT. ChatGPT, and in fact, Google's own AI overview, don't care at all about backlinks. So, trying to do all these tricks, never really did that much. We don't do much. About the blackest hat thing we do are the PBN links that we use to show Google that the content we're generating isn't slop. Beyond that, like we basically follow the rules. And I know it sounds boring, but we structure the websites the way Google wants to see them. We write content like Google wants to see and ChatGPT wants to see. And yeah, like a good test, Silvio, is if we did here. I keep saying things, and then we'll pretend we're all in Missouri, right? Missouri is the show me state, so we'll pretend we're all in Missouri. So here we go, we're in Missouri. So I'm going to type in plumber Chicago. So I get my maps listing, Rescue Plumbing, First Chicago Plumbing, Good Plumbing. Remember those three companies. Now, still in Google, I'm going to say, can you recommend a good plumber in Chicago, right? A conversational search. Now, if I do this, I get an AI overview. I'm happy it actually happened live and on camera, but it actually did. There's no map, right? There's no map. This is a local search. There's no map. I get an AI overview, and I get 4 seasons, and another recommendation is Power Plumbing. Neither one of these two are in Google's map listing. Okay? So Google's AI overview for a conversational search recommended different businesses than the ones that are ranking on Google Maps. Okay? I mean, that's just wild to me that Google's AI isn't recommending the same businesses that Google Maps is. So Google AI has figured out that it basically gets to start over. It doesn't need to use the same rank algorithm. It can do different things and look for different factors, okay? And what's fascinating about this, if you look at these businesses, and I'd spent quite a bit of time looking at these businesses, this Chicago plumber search is not new to me, but if you look at Power Plumbing and you look at 4 Seasons, one of the big things that jumps out, those two versus the 3 plumbers in the maps listings, is the 3 plumbers on the map listings have a bunch of inconsistent citations. And the citations for the 2 that are in the AI overview are spot on, 100% accurate, character for character, right? So I know I talked about citations before, how important they are, how important they are to be accurate. That's one of the reasons that I say that, because it is that important. So anyway, the point of all of that, the reason it's related to Silvio's question about whether I use these other tricks for ranking. So AI overview is showing up for local search for a conversational query. We know that Google is rolling out AI overview to replace its normal search results. How long do we think the Maps has left to live before Google uses an AI overview almost entirely, or uses the AI overview to feed the map? Okay? And you cannot trick the AI with things like pings from Fiverr or something like that. Right? The AI is looking for citation consistency and mentions in reputable websites. It does not care about links, not even a little bit. Okay? All right. Hopefully I didn't harp on that for too long. The first time I saw that, I was just like, what is going on? How does Google AI not recommend the same businesses as that are ranked in Google Maps? It's crazy. It's ridiculous. That's where we live. Okay. Travel to. That's a fun name. Should I create local landing pages for nearby neighborhood cities if I have a physical address that serves customers, i.e., a veterinarian? All right. So if you have a physical address or not, it does not matter, right? What we're trying to do is turn the rank map green. So I don't care if you have a physical address that people visit or you have a physical address that people don't visit, but you still have it. Okay. The answer is going to be the same, and the answer to that question is yes. You should create local landing pages. I call that building geographical relevance. So what we do, how we do that. Do I still have that rank map? Let me see if I have. Here we go. So let me pull it up here with Doc Dancer. Good old Doc Dancer. I really have no connection with this business. But anyway, here we go. We'll pull it up. So geographical based content. So they're not quite there yet. They have 15% in the top three. I want to see 25 to 35% in the top three before we dive into geographical based content. So let me grab someone else. Let me grab this guy. 35% of the top three. I'm going to pretend this guy came and said, hey, I want to rank higher. What can you do for me? So we're going to look at the rank map. Now, we know we have enough topical relevance because we have all this green. So Google clearly believes that this business can provide this service. We just need to build the proximity as to get farther and farther away. So what we're going to do is I'm going to look for like 4s, 5s, and 6s. And so let's pick this 4 right here. So we got this 4, and that 4 is right next to, get out of here. That 4 is right next to South Calhoun Place, right? That neighborhood, South Calhoun Place, right next to the 4. So I'm going to write an article, and I'm targeting air conditioning repair Fort Wayne. So I'm going to write an article, and my target keyword is going to be air conditioning repair, South Calhoun Place, Fort Wayne. Okay, that's what when I say building up geographical relevance, that's what I say. I'm going to call out the location that Google has on their map, call out my main keyword, call out the city, and then in this article, I'm going to provide driving directions from this number 4 over to your veterinary's office. Okay. I'm not going to target different cities. I'm going to look at the local rank map and target my geographical content based on getting 4s and 5s to turn into 2s and 3s. Hopefully that was helpful. All right, next question. What do we have here? Valutech. Valutech. I'm going with Valutech. Cool. At this turning point from freelance to small agency, any tips on tools, client care, and add-ons to offer? All right, so the tools I walked through, this is going to be posted on YouTube, so feel free to go back and view that. I won't hit the tools again. Client care. Okay, so the biggest thing that I would say about client care is when you land a new client, they need to not go more than a couple of days without hearing from you. Okay. And, Destiny and I, we chat about this often. Yeah. We land a new client. If you go like 4 days or 5 days and don't say anything to a new client, you're going to get an email from them reaching out, and they're going to be like, what's going on? That's terrible, right? That's absolutely terrible. You never want that to happen. So when a client first signs on and first pays you, they're nervous. They're not sure if it's the right move. They're going to have buyer's remorse. These are all very normal feelings. So what we do straight away, I have a short Loom video, and it shows how to give us access to Analytics, Search Console, and WordPress. So we'll kick that over to them. And then within 48 hours, we're going to give them the GBP audit. Okay? The GBP audit, it takes an hour and a half to do. That's going to be in their inbox within 48 hours, just to make sure they're comfortable that they did the right thing by starting the engagement, right? On top of that, within 72 hours after that, we're going to give them new content for the GBP landing page. It'll incorporate their existing content, maybe add a little bit more, maybe change things around depending on what's going on. But yeah, we'll give them that within 3 days after that. And another thing that we'll very often try to do, especially depending on the competitiveness and where they're currently ranked, is we might do a reactivation campaign. So if they have a list of prior customers that they're not doing anything with, we'll maybe set those customers up. We'll get them in high level or something like that, and then run a campaign. So if it's a a plumber or something like that, maybe we'll run a campaign for seasonal water heater maintenance, seasonal water heater checkups, anything like that, because we want their phone to start ringing as soon as possible in order to again convince them that they did the right thing. In my experience, if we have a client that stays with us for 6 months, and 6 months is the turning point. If a client stays for 6 months, they're probably going to be our client for many years, right? I have very few clients who have been with us for longer than 6 months, but less than like 4 years. So the goal is to get it to 6 months. And the way you do that is by like constantly communicating to them, constantly sending them information. So if we land a client and we're going to do, say, 8 articles a month, I'm going to send them 2 articles every week. Okay. I'm not going to wait until the end of the month and send them all 8. I'm going to send them 2 a week. Okay. All right. Sean, yeah. So the lead snap, the $20 for lead snap is for the citations. It's $59 to have 10 GBPs hooked up into lead snap. But if you use my affiliate link, that $59 will be 30. But I think you can do a lead snap just citations only. Okay. Do you manually go through the GBP on a new client? Yes, I do. And how do you, well, I don't, my team does. And how do you fill it out fully if they are not done right? So we get access to their GBP. They grant us manager access. And with manager access, we can go into their GBP, fill it everything the way it should be done. We also can link their GBP up into LeadSnap. And then with LeadSnap, we can make the GBP edits through LeadSnap instead of logging in through the GBP itself. Either way is fine. But the actual exact document that we go through, I have like 80 windows open right now, so I'm trying to find it. The document that we go through to analyze their GBP, to collect everything, to make sure it's done correctly, that document is right here. I will drop a link to it in the chat. It is in the school group. So that document, it's a Google Doc. Feel free to copy it. We basically just walk through their GBP with that document open and make sure everything is filled out and done correctly. There's also a questionnaire that that document links to that they need to fill out to do things like business hours or the special features, stuff like that. Okay. What tools do you use for tracking analytics and success? Good question. We use the local rank map. That's it. When we send a proposal to a client, the proposal is going to be based on what we want to see the rank map looking like after 3, 6, 9, 12 months, what our goals are for that rank map, and then we use the rank map as our measure of success. I mentioned we'll do some like activation things in order to get some additional calls, stuff like that. That's just to make them like even happier, stuff like that. But we track a lot of stuff like that. Most clients actually won't give us access to their tracking phone numbers. So that's no problem. My measure of success, and I make it clear with clients up front, is we want to see the local rank map get better. Now, that in no small part is because the people that become our clients at the agency are already reasonably familiar with SEO. So when we were running that Facebook ad and just landing general plumbers who weren't super familiar with SEO, they just wanted calls. For that, we controlled their tracking phone numbers. It was all through High Level. High Level automatically records every tracking phone number, and we priced all of that per qualified lead. And then we had someone whose job was to listen to all those phone calls and decide if it was a lead or not. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So it depends on the type of client that we have, but either, yeah, the local rank map or the number of calls, leads, things like that. All right. Silvio, do you change anything in the H2 access? Nope, we don't change anything in the H2 access. For our PBN, we obviously block the crawlers from seeing it so that the Ahrefs bot, Majestic bot, SEMrush bot, etc. can't crawl the PBN. But yeah, other than that, we very rarely change anything in the HT access unless it was messed up. All right, do you use a plugin to generate your schema or are you creating schema manually? Both. can. Honestly, I would say both. So often what we'll do, so for critical schema like local business schema, we're going to start with a tool that will just generate local business schema for us with the positioning, name, address, phone number, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But then we want to turn that into a nested schema where we have some of the services nested. Maybe we have other types of schema nested inside the local business schema. There's this great example. We have a client who is a personal injury law firm, and they had a crazy settlement. I won't get into the details, but they had a crazy settlement and they wanted that highlighted. So I took a reference to that settlement. It was published in the Washington Post. And I had ChatGPT edit the local business schema to nest in information about that settlement. And it nested it in under like the reward category or something like that, and implemented that new local business schema on their homepage. Within a week, if you started asking ChatGPT for an attorney recommendation in that city, not only was it recommending this attorney, it was recommending this attorney because of that settlement that was implemented into the schema. So for local business schema, we'll definitely do it like almost always custom do it with ChatGPT so that we can nest all of this information. Basically, think about that is what do you want ChatGPT to know about your business? Because ChatGPT is going to be so much better about pulling that information from the schema than otherwise. Very fascinating. Google's AI seems to have zero, just does not care about schema whatsoever. The example I just showed of Chicago, you can do this yourself. I've done it with a bunch of different cities, and it's pretty consistent all the time. The businesses that Google's AI overview is recommending almost always have no or terrible schema implemented. So ChatGPT cares a lot about schema. Google's AI cares not at all about it. Google's algorithm cares a lot about schema. So do schema. Okay. 2:35, running to the point where I have a back end to go get my kiddos from school. But we'll keep going here for a little bit. Do you have any recommendations for an effective chatbot to use on a restaurant website? Honestly, high levels default integrated chatbot works great. It used to be okay, and then we would implement something like CloseBot was another that we used, where we'd implement CloseBot instead of using the high level built-in one. But the high level built-in one added the objectives, added the goal settings that CloseBot had. I still think CloseBot is maybe a little bit better, but I don't know. Like for a little bit better, it's not, in my mind, it's not worth implementing another tool and trying to get it integrated. So normally now we just use the high level integration one and call it good. What do you think about Google Quakes happening since last Monday? We don't pay a whole lot of attention to that. We haven't seen much of that affect our local clients. Again, right, I said we're not really using a lot of tricks, right? We're doing SEO by building out the type of content, the type of structure, the type of links that Google wants to see to build that trust, to build that authority. I don't really pay a lot of attention to Google Quakes. That seems to be that something you would really care about if you were trying to rank with a bunch of tricks. All right. Does Google hate AI generated sites? Not at all. I think I mentioned before that we have dozens and dozens of websites ranking very well, all fully AI generated, human edited. All right. Would index cloud stacks be as good as PBN links? Johnny, man, I don't know what indexed cloud stacks are, so I have no idea. Yep, that's all I got. I haven't heard that term. Again, I'm very boring with SEO. We're not using tricks, right? We're just doing what Google wants to see to build that trust, to build that authority. What is the one thing you would do differently if you're just starting out? Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, the one thing I would do differently if I were just starting out, like I would start a YouTube channel. It takes a long time to build it into something that's good, but I mean, it's been quite good since it got there. So I would start a YouTube channel. Beyond that, I would start running ads. I would start a YouTube channel. I would start running ads. That's how I would build an SEO agency from scratch today if I were just starting out. Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's what I would say about that. When a prospect agrees to sign up for services, is it okay to ChatGPT to create a doc to have them sign, or how do you suggest to go about that part? So I have a contract that we use with DocuSign. I will admit, ChatGPT wrote the first draft of that contract, but then I had my attorney read it through to make sure it was okay. Obviously, ChatGPT is not an attorney, so I had an actual attorney read it through, make sure it's okay, and then we use that in the doc sign for a new services. We used to not do that. We used to just say, hey, 30 days out, just give us a heads up, et cetera, et cetera. But we had a bunch of clients who'd like canceled last minute, wanted refunds, blah, blah, blah. So now we require a signature on a contract. And yeah, it scares some away, but I figure if the client's scared away from signing a contract, then they probably wouldn't have been a great client anyway. That being said, if I were starting out brand new, I would not use contracts. Contracts are very scary to business owners. So we didn't use contracts for many years. Okay. So Silvio, does title, meta tag, breadcrumbs, content, FAQ, schema, keyword relevance together, does it maximize CTR? So CTR isn't a thing, right? When we talk about local SEO, the websites don't matter. So the meta description, breadcrumbs, all of that stuff, none of that matters because we're ranking the GBP. So when we talk about CTR in local SEO, what we're talking about is the quality and the quantity of reviews of your GBP versus the other two that are in the top three. Reviews are not a major rank factor. You can rank in the top three with 50 reviews if the other two guys have 10,000, and then there's fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth all have 5,000 reviews. You can rank really well with very few reviews compared to your competitors, but if you have 50 reviews and they have 10,000, you're not getting any calls. And there's nothing you can do for CTR in that case except get more reviews to be better about that. All this other stuff, you're talking about organic SEO below the map results, don't pay a lot of attention to that. We'll still do all of these different types of schema, but it's more that ChatGPT loves it and finds it easier to read than actually reading the website. I have this suspicion that ChatGPT's website crawling is not very good compared to Google's. So yeah, the ChatGPT relies on schema more than Google does. So all of these different types of schema will definitely implement. I know Rank Math does a lot of these automatically, which is great. And then, you can have ChatGPT create custom ones for pages that see that it's important. And the very last question from Mr. Dan, last question, last but not least, do you use Jasper's schema writing? No, we do not. We do not use Jasper's schema writing. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for attending. I really appreciate this. Thank you for asking your questions. Hopefully this was valuable. We do this every week inside the pro community. So if you don't want to wait, think about joining that community, and then we'll do this tomorrow, actually. We do this every Tuesday in the pro community. Otherwise, the next one we'll do for this community is going to be on September 1st. It's the first Monday of the month. September 1st, 1 p.m. Central is the next scheduled one of these. Hopefully you can be there. And yeah, thank you very much. In the interim, feel free, post in the school group, send me a message. If you do send me a message with a question, I'll probably just reply to you and say, post that in the community. So go ahead, post it in the community. I do read every post. I try to reply to most of them. Thank you very much for coming, and have a good rest of the afternoon, everyone. Take care.